What is going on, everybody? I'm BobbyFi with my man Eric Sheets-Haber. We are going to do the NFL breakdown for week number 8. We got a lot of things very right last week, including Burrow as I had Burrow in 55% of my lineups, and I felt like it was going to be the week. And you know what? And it didn't really, even if you paired him, mostly it was with Boyd, but I paired him with the other guys too. Both Green and Higgins even were. You could have had good lineups there, and I had a lot of Adams. I just didn't have the right mix, and I had too much OBJ running it back in that game. Sheets, how was your week? And then let's start talking about this.
Yeah, I had a fun screenshot for like 10 minutes.
That was cool.
It's never been the case actually. So I actually at one point, like in the midway through the first or second quarter of the first games, was all alone by myself in first in the Millie Maker. I don't think I've ever seen that.
What's crazy is by more points than I've ever seen anyone up that early. Like you were up by like 6 points on the second place.
Yeah, I know.
Never happened early
well, I mean, and again, you weren't around. I did like kind of an updated video where I said I'm really going to be all over this Green Bay thing, and they were just murdering it. Listen, I mean, it's an interesting thing happened. That one thing that I got right, sort of, is that I did know that Seattle game, as juicy as it was just going to not be as owned, just because no one really had it in them to just wait until 8 o'clock to have all their exposure. So all those guys ended up lower owned than, I don't want to say they should have been, but that they could have been. Let's put it that way.
No, that was my pairings were Burrow and then Murray to Hopkins, and I left Hopkins in there even with the rumor of him not playing possibly, and he had a great game.
Yeah, and Lockett, dude, that was ridiculous. Lockett 50+ points. Adams, he might have had almost 50 points. So you needed to. You needed to kill it. But then this was really funny. So we didn't do lineup reviews of anybody else, but the leader in the Millie Maker, this is terrible. So the leader in the Millie Maker had 0 points out of his tight end. He had Darren Fells, and he was holding on. It took them until overtime of the Arizona game to catch him. Let's put it that way. And then he finally got like 4th or something. It's absolutely amazing, actually. Literally 0 out of the tight end was winning the Millie Maker in a slate where you needed 2 million points.
Yep.
We
have a viewer, by the way, who was 6th in. I don't know where he ended up finishing somewhere during the Seattle game at pretty much towards the end. So it was after Lockett did his thing. He had Lockett, but
wow.
He said a thank you because Bobby turned me on to the Burrow, and he had Burrow with to Boyd, and then he had the Adams and Lockett, so he finished 6th in that. But he had the same thing with Fells, or he was 6th at the time in the Millionaire Maker. But he had Fells in the tight end spot, man, and you just can't win with that 0 for him. So, but it's pretty cool to see, and he was like, we got a nice little shot out there, but you can't have zeros in your positions and win the Millionaire Maker. Usually, it's pretty amazing. You're like you said, that the guy almost. I mean, look, I finished 4th with a 1.3 for my tight end when I'm in the Millionaire Maker that one day. So it's doable. So
here's the deal. So again, we're doing this on a Wednesday, which is pretty early, and if things change, which has been prone in the last couple of weeks. There's not a lot going on. We'll probably come back on Friday or something and do do an update of some kind or something like that. Because last week the whole slate changed, right? When Aaron Jones was out, like literally everything changed to the point where it was really funny. Like the guys that, if you look, like you should have listened to us early in the week. Like you went early in the week, and I said, well, obviously, like the lock cash game play is Deontay Johnson, right? By the time everybody was done, he was like 4% owned because like everybody else became so much a better play. We'll see what happens this week. So this is kind of like a first/second look. You want to go game by game, or
let's do game by game. Let's pull your screen up and we'll go game by game. I mean,
first I'm going to pull up the lineup that's going to win $1 million, by the way, and then after I do that, then we'll go to game by game. This is going to win, by the way. But aside from that, let's go game by game.
Oh wow!
Clear this. Boop. Hope you guys didn't see it. So, all right. So, first of all, the overall tone of the slate again is it's starting to become, I would say, a little annoying. It's pretty much the same guys that are showing up as the top, projection-based plays literally every week. However, there are stacks, there's ways to play that, as you've seen, that you can get some upside and go low and not have to, succumb to that. And I'll tell you, some of these higher priced guys or whatever it is, they're not exactly in the easiest matchups in the world either. So we'll talk about them when we get to them, I guess.
Yep. All right. Yeah. So I hear you there. It is an interesting. So what are we doing with these guys here? Because this game actually, there's mild interest for me on the Indianapolis side. I have some interest in Taylor with what's happened to we've seen it at times from Detroit this year defensively. But I don't think this is and look, I know I'm going to get killed on this one again, but I'm going to play at least a small percentage of TY. I just don't buy that this is going to happen forever in the price and everything. And he's had some really weird plays called back. I mean, 2 touchdowns called back in the one game. I might get like 10% of TY here. I might get like 10% on the other side of Galladay, and I might get as much as 15% of Jonathan Taylor. But that's basically it for me in this game.
I like Galladay. I like Taylor a little bit. Again, the rookie still has good upside, and Detroit's not, they're not whatever it is. They're not the greatest defense in the world. So I think Taylor's a good option, especially with the ownership again going to be concentrated up with other running backs. I'm sure it's perfectly fine. I wasn't getting to Hilton, but like I said, I mean, you could always. And he's in a dome, right?
Yeah.
So it's fine. I'm probably not going to get that much exposure to this game, but the guys I would play would be Taylor and Gall.
Yeah, and just to keep an eye out, I know I said I did a couple weeks ago, but and he had the big game. I know he didn't have as big of a game last week, but just going forward, keep an eye out for DeAndre Swift, and definitely look at who's playing tight end for Indy in this game, because I think that the upside for tight ends with Phillip Rivers is so high that I think we have to always consider them, because he just loves to throw the ball to tight ends. He's always been that way. Nothing's changed. So I kind of like the idea of playing, whether it be Mo Alley Cox or, Trey Burton. But so anyway, so yeah, just keep those out, and keep an eye out going forward for DeAndre Swift. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, Minnesota, Green Bay. What are the status of the 2 lead running backs, Aaron Jones and Dalvin
Supposed to play as of right now, but it's Wednesday. We don't know.
Yeah,
We need a full week of practices to really get it. But I'm assuming as of right now they're playing. Maybe we should just assume it for this purpose.
I like both of them. I like Aaron Jones. I like Dalvin Cook in this game. Again, I don't think I'm going to be playing. I don't know. We'll see. I really didn't want to play the chalky running backs this week, so I'm going to. I'm probably going to have some interest in both these guys, Cook and Jones, if they play. Devontae Adams is just kind of putting up kind of elite numbers. Jones is totally locked in on him. I don't know if I want to play guys that are that high owned. But again, if I'm going to play lower owned running backs, I'm honestly probably going to have the money to play him if I do this the way I want to do it. But $8,800 for a freaking tight end, a wide receiver is just tough, man. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do it. Other guys from Green Bay, I don't think I want to get fancy. Like, I know you're going to hear people say, well, if Aaron Jones is back, maybe he doesn't get a full workload, and maybe Jamal Williams is still good. I'm not doing it at 6,100. I don't know. Maybe you could talk me into it. And on the Minnesota side, I'd like to say that I like Thielen and or Jefferson, but they're pretty secondary plays for me. I don't know. What do you think?
So we saw this matchup, but we also got to see it, sort of the angry Rodgers, you know what I mean? Early week 1, they draft a quarterback and he sort of shows off and he does his thing, throws the 5 touchdowns or whatever it was. Devontae Adams put up 40 fantasy points against these guys last time, 41. They don't have any way of covering him. My guess is they try to make a massive adjustment and double him and really double him the whole time. And if they do that, I think you want pieces in this game. I think that both running backs are interesting. I think that I'm surprised by the spread only being 6.5. I just separate bet. I would go out there and say I would bet on Green Bay almost anything they score more than 30 points this week. I think they could have had a 35-point total. I still might take the over. Minnesota has not shown any ability to stop anyone's offense. Green Bay is still the most potent or one of the most potent offenses in football. And I really like Green Bay to score a lot of points. And if they can keep it close, I think Thielen might end up being kind of popular. And if I'm going to play this game, I don't mind just popping over to Justin Jefferson instead. But if he's not going to be popular, I think he'd be the natural run back here. But Tanyan and Valdez-Scantling, are not going to be. I don't think anyone's playing him. Yes, no one's going to play Valdez-Scantling. He's 3,800. If they in fact do make a huge adjustment, which they really should, you'd think based on what happened last time, maybe we see all of a sudden a game out of Scantling that we could use at 3,800. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not sure I'm going to do it. But the other one I kind of like is Tanya, and I think he's got some upside against this Minnesota team who just can't cover the middle or any part of the field. And I want exposure to this game. But I will probably be ahead of the field on Devontae Adams if I can get there. I don't know that I would like – again, it's 8,800. It's hard to get there. It's hard to make sense of. But this guy just – I mean, you might need him on Sunday. That's my only argument. So I have him right now as programmed in about 25%. That might be below – that might be a little above the field, I think. That's probably where I'll be at the end of the week because I really like him.
You like Irv Smith at all?
I think he's in play. I always feel like with him, like, I don't know, like he's not even necessarily like the main tight end exact. Like he is, but you got the touchdown last week to Rudolph, right? I think it was last week. Yeah. Oh no, maybe it was a couple weeks back. I don't know. I'm not excited by it, but at 3K, certainly he can be on the list. I mean, they've been good against the tight end for the last few years. And I guess it's just fine to me is where I stand. I probably won't end up using much Irv Smith.
Okay.
Dalvin Cook is a keep an eye out for Dalvin Cook spot. If he plays,
right.
If he's going to be low owned, which I think he will. I like the Green. By the way, I love the Green Bay defense overall this week.
That's interesting.
This game. I want to pick on Cousins every time I get the chance. We had a nice showing together with a minimum cost Atlanta team against this Minnesota team a few weeks back. Or a couple weeks back. And I think that this is one I want to attack. I also like the Detroit and Indy defenses a little bit, but I like Green Bay the best. And, I just wish I could get – I haven't seen this Minnesota team really look like a real team against good teams, and I'm worried about that. But if this game does stay reasonably close, I think you're going to see a massive – like a really, really high score.
You want to play anybody from the Baltimore or Pittsburgh game, which is the best game of the week?
By far,
from football perspective?
Yeah, absolutely, right? By the time it comes down to Sunday, do I really think I'm going to end up playing these guys? Probably not.
No.
I love this Pittsburgh team. I think I've been the best team in football so far, and this should be a great game. But I just think, again, though, what's interesting, though, is playing Lamar is going to have more of an appeal because of how often Pittsburgh blitzes. It's hard to blitz that much and keep containment. So Lamar should be able to run all over the place in this game. But are they going to be the team that puts up that winning score? And who are we even playing him with? And none of the plays make sense against this Pittsburgh team from a receiver or tight end standpoint. So kind of hard. You'd have to basically play him naked. And the only thing I'll say on the other side is I think we can sort of go to these receivers anytime when they're these prices, and all three of them are legitimately good plays at 52 out of 5,500 against anybody. But again, by the time the end of the week comes, I don't know that I just don't know if I'm going to be there.
Yeah, I agree. I right now I'm playing nothing from this game. So.
Yeah, right now I don't have any percentages on anybody, but I would be open to taking a shot on one of the receivers if I need it, like if I wanted to later. But I don't see the reason for it.
And so for me, I mean, honestly, the next two games are where this is what I'm probably doing. So Tennessee, Cincinnati. Let's start with that one. I see no reason to not go right back to the Cincinnati guys. I also see no reason to not go with the Tennessee offense too. And I don't look. Derrick Henry is probably the best play on the slate with respect to, projections and whatever it is. And yeah, he's probably. If I had to pick one running back, probably be him. I'd play the passing game too. I mean, I would. This could be a freaking 80-point game. I mean, honestly, I think that you could play either way. You could play Tannehill with Brown and Jonnu Smith. You could play Burrow with all those dudes, from Cincinnati. And I think this game could be it probably is a big total anyway. What is it, 50, 54? I imagine.
Yeah, 54.
I see no – and look, Tennessee's got a reputation for having a good defense, but I haven't seen it. I mean, they're in big freaking shootouts every freaking week. So I think this game is one of the key games to get on.
Yeah, I'm a tiny bit less on. I got so much more into the Cincinnati without Mixon last week because I just thought they were going to be forced, and they did throw the ball like a million times. So it's going to skew a little bit of some of the targets for the receivers because I think they all got a massive number of targets last week. Like I think you had 13 for Boyd, you had 13 for Green, and then T. Higgins had the big play, but also had, he had 5 targets only, but he had 5 receptions for 70 and a touchdown. So I want some exposure to this spot. I a little bit worry about when Tennessee gets it going. They're the team I want to avoid from DFS purposes because when they're really going, and I know you got the massive game in a shootout with Henry, but most of the time he has those massive games. They're like the 28-point variety, 28-16 kind of a thing, and it doesn't turn into the full shootout maybe that you hope for, and they sort of control the clock. So I do like Henry. It's an interesting decision because you're probably not going to play Henry and Devontae Adams together very easily, but right. I do think Henry's in play. And I don't think I'm going to be playing the quarterbacks much. I might have a tiny bit of Burrow, but the guy I want to use in this game by far more than everybody else is AJ Green. I understand the targets are a little skewed from last week, but he had 11 targets the previous week as well. So you're talking about 24 targets to this guy in the last 2 weeks. Not to mention he's actually put up decent numbers without scoring a touchdown, putting up 17 and 15 fantasy points. He gets in the end zone, he turns himself into a great value play, either of those spots, and he's already fine even where he is. So I like him on both sides a little bit, but I particularly like him on DraftKings. And I think that the upside is there for him in this spot, especially as he won't get the tougher corners on him just because I think they're going to match them up with Boyd and to some extent with Higgins. So AJ Green is my priority play. He's the guy I'll run it back with Henry the most. And I do like Jonnu a ton. The price is kind of silly. It makes it why Tanyan is not going to be owned. But Jonnu has had 2 really, really bad weeks in a row. I hope people pay attention to that because I think there's massive upside here for him. So also he got injured. People better remember that on like the 3rd play of the game in that one spot. So
during Ferkser season. Yeah,
during Ferkser blowout, a game he probably would have had 200 yards and would be the massive chalk on the slate, but may not be because people might look at the game logs. So I would play Jonnu Smith a ton here with AJ. Smith, Green, Henry, that's sort of the pairings that I like here.
All right. So there's some, I don't know how sneaky this is going to be, but this was my other one. I don't know. Like so Vegas and Cleveland. Just as I saw Cleveland have a share last week, I think this could be very similar, man. I think that I think you could play, as gross it is, you can play Derek Carr, you can play Waller, Huggs, dude, play Jacobs if you want. And Cleveland with OBJ out, aren't you getting like just massive target share going now to Jarvis Landry? And then if you want, you could, I don't know if you want to do this, but Rashard Higgins is probably going to be, oh man, is Rashard Higgins still on Cleveland all these years playing chalk Rashard Higgins? I remember a couple of times where he busted everybody.
He never paid off for anybody. The only time he ever has a game is when no one plays him.
Yeah, but I think they're going to play him this week.
Yeah.
Harrison Bryant, again, him and Njoku. I see no reason to believe this is anything but a high-scoring game. So I'm gonna try.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like the idea of playing Higgins, but look, I've seen this story a lot of times and nothing happens. They made Jarvis Landry. They did a good job raising his price a little bit, and so I probably am gonna not be so too into that. I do think that people might be off of Kareem Hunt more than they should be.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
And he's the main play I have in this game, along with Darren Waller as my favorite tight end on the entire slate. And I agree with the Ruggs idea. I'm not going to bring myself to play Carr. Probably not going to play Baker either, although I wouldn't mind Baker terribly. He's been pretty good without OBJ for the last couple of years. So Ruggs, but you're really asking for a home run hitter play for a guy who's 4.9 and may not get that. They've got a lot of guys they're throwing the ball around to with Renfro and
Aguilar.
Yeah, I just think I'm probably going to skip it, even though I believe in the kid's talent. So I think it's just going to be priorities: Kareem Hunt, Darren Waller, and lesser priorities, but some interest in Higgins and Josh Jacobs.
Okay, I do agree. Kareem Hunt is probably if he's my favorite running back, it might be. Might be my favorite running back.
I mean, I love the spot. You got to love this year. So I know he hasn't exactly had that. Like last week, he was supposed to put up 30 in his sleep, and he ended up with 19, against Cincinnati. I think that was a weird game flow thing, and I think that Kareem Hunt has a big day. I really do. I feel pretty good about it, pretty safe with him.
Okay, so I told you before the show that I was going to be a little crazy this week.
Here you go. Okay, let's hear it.
And here we go. So all I've heard literally nonstop since the second quarter of last week's game is how Cam Newton is just terrible and he's just the worst and all this stuff. And Josh Allen was no bargain either, honestly, the last couple of weeks. But, dude, I'm getting freaking Newton at 5,700. I'm getting Julian Edelman at 4,400. I'm getting N'Keal Harry maybe at 3,400. And I have just a beautiful Stephon Diggs, who had a kind of an off game last week. Jets played him kind of tough, actually. I don't think anybody's playing this game at all. So I'm gonna be playing some of this and just keep that cloud with the rain thing there too, just to further keep this stuff down. I'm just not really afraid of any of these games like I've been the last 5 or 6 weeks where there've been these nut matchups in the dome with 80-point totals we just knew we're going to get there. I'm just not as worried about that this week. And I think that just the price of these guys. I mean, look, Edelman hadn't done anything the last couple of weeks, but Christ, man, I don't know.
You could play this very easily. I mean, even if you skip the Diggs thing, you don't need to whatever. You could play the stack and not run it back is one option, I think, too. But also you can play the stack and then just play Derrick Henry and Devontae Adams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can pay for those guys. So you're sort of selling me a little bit here, Sheets. And what I like about the thing with Cam and his price is that they don't need to score a ton of points for him to get there because he can get a rushing touchdown or two. And he might get 50 yards on the ground, possibly. It's in the realm of possibility. So I don't mind the Cam idea. I don't know how much I'm going to get to that, but I do think these receivers at these prices definitely deserve some consideration. It's obviously not a good matchup against these corners, but I certainly think I don't know that about using too many of them, but I definitely will be sprinkling in all of them, and with Edelman as the priority. And I actually think Bird might be. I'm sort of stuck on who I'd like better, Bird or Harry here. I think I might actually prefer Bird.
Okay.
But I don't like. Again, it doesn't feel great. But maybe what we do is what my thing is, because I'm going to do that with some lineups anyway. Why don't we give it a shot? I know it's not a good matchup for these guys either, but maybe we do play the two receivers from New England with Stephon Diggs and with Josh Allen.
Why not?
That's the way that I think that's a tournament upside lineup. And by the way, John Brown, I don't care about how bad or what's been happening or any of this stuff. I'm going to take shots on John Brown when he's 4,400. I mean, there is upside for this.
Absolutely.
Guy. So
can I tell, I could do this honestly, like the exact opposite, right? I mean, I could just put Josh Allen over here, and then put John Brown as a second dude, and you know what I mean. You could do this whatever you can do whatever you like. You said if you do this, you could barely even spend the rest of your money. You know what I mean? Like you could do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know we all liked the Davis thing without John Brown last week. I know he let everybody down. Again, a kid you want to keep an eye on going forward, but you probably don't want to play him yet. It's also worth noting, I'm not going to play this guy, but their best receiver, their most consistent receiver has kind of been Cole Beasley. I'm not going to play him, but just pointing out, I don't know. He's a guy, maybe if it was a showdown thing or something like that, or a 2-gamer or something, consider him. But with Brown back, it's less of an interest. But again, John Brown at 4,400 has got to be, he's got to be one of the highest upside plays. Yeah, for value. So I really like John Brown the more I think about it. I like what you said with this. I think I want to get 10% of almost all these guys, and then I can play my main stuff elsewhere, and I'll have my one major stack with Allen to either to one of Diggs or Brown.
What do you think of? I'll let you start with Jets Kansas City.
Okay, so this is one of the most interesting totals you'll ever see in a football game. Not the totals, the interesting spreads. You have a 19.5-point favorite. That's absurd. I would like to get. I would like some exposure to this KC offense when people probably just sort of skip past the game. Should we consider Denzel Mims as a potential value play? I think maybe he makes the list. on the Jets side. I think that on the other side for KC, I don't know who I want to play exactly. You know what I mean? It's basically do I want to play Travis Kelce, not overpay for Tyreek Hill, but with the way things they've been playing there, maybe that's it. Maybe you take a shot with a Kelce or a Hill, but I just don't really want to go crazy with this. And honestly, because they're going to be up by so much, that's sort of what makes this game a little bit interesting for me, because I think the Jets may end up having to throw the ball, 35 times, and somebody could easily get there. I just don't feel good about any of this. And the Chiefs are, if pricing wasn't a thing, are the best defense on the slate without even anybody close, in my opinion.
Okay, a couple of things.
Jamison Crowder, yes, obviously. Go ahead.
Well, no, what I was saying is that, it's tough to get to these Kansas City guys with the game script that's going to happen. I mean, and yes, if you want, I promise you that if they're up 4 touchdowns, they are going to force feed a touchdown to Le'Veon Bell. They're just going to do it. Yes. They're going to find a way to do it, and congratulations, good for them. Okay, but here are the guys that you can play if you want to play the Jets, I think. And I think you can play the Jets because they're going to be in a position to have to throw the ball like the whole game. You know what I mean? Like at the beginning of the game, in the middle of the game, and at the end of the game. They're going to have to try to cover the 60 minutes, you know what I mean, and run plays, right? So I almost prefer that Crowder doesn't play, right? So the guy you mentioned, I think is going to be kind of popular, actually, the Denzel Mims. That's just my guess. The other guys is Perriman. He was been looking for. I don't know if he plays, but if you want to try something, they really were getting Perrine work in the game against Buffalo. Yeah, it kind of got they were the whole team wasn't bad in the first half. They couldn't do anything in the second half, but this guy Perrine is somebody that they really were looking for, and whether the game is a blowout or close or whatever, I think they're going to get him touches. So at 4,300, if you want to play a Jet, I think that's the place that you want to go. Mm-hmm. And sure, obviously, if Crowder plays, it's going to be Darnold's top target. But I mean, Kansas City, what's his name? Reed's no idiot. It's going to probably make sure that if Crowder plays, he pays Crowder the lion's share of the attention. You know what I mean? That's what I'll probably sprinkles of those 2 Jets maybe. And I just don't think I'm going to play, 3/4 of KC guys. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see who's playing for the Jets. It's going to depend on who's playing, really. Yeah. We don't know entirely what's going to happen here. So that's going to obviously change some things, but they're so cheap and they're going to have to throw the ball so much that I think that taking shots on Perriman and Mims, if there's no Crowder, especially, probably not getting to Berrios, but one of the other 2 I would consider. And I actually think we should play Jamison Crowder if he plays. The target share is hard, and really it's basically becomes a game of if he somehow finds his way into the end zone, he's probably going to put up around 30 fantasy points just because of the number of targets he's going to have. So you want some exposure to him, but again, feels kind of gross for a 14.5 point total for the team.
So I heard there's a take on the Rams-Miami, not Rams, but Miami in general, which I actually am kind of into. So after their last game, they announced that Tua was going to be taking over for Fitzpatrick, and all Fitzpatrick has done is won, and Fitzpatrick whined about it, and said this, that, and the other thing, and there was a lot of just why would you take Fitzpatrick out or whatever it is, but here's the deal. First of all, I've been kind of on Miami. I've been kind of following Miami in a very positive way. We're the past 2 years. The coach is really good. They're trying to do what's necessary. The thing about COVID is that one thing that COVID has done is it's reduced the ability for media in general to attend practices. Like it used to be that they'd be there all the time and not on top of what's going on. I think it's really possible that Tua is really good. I have no proof of it. You know what I mean?
Well, I have a lot of a strong take on that. I think he is. I don't care what happens in this game or the first few games he plays. He's really good. And everybody, the word around there is that that's how they think. I truly believe that even with as good as Burrow be, if there wasn't an injury to Tua, that it would have been a really tough decision because this guy is going to be a superstar. I just have that. I just 100% feel convinced on that. And I don't know if it'll happen this week, but I think that he's going to be a superstar.
Yeah, so that was my overall thing. But the other thing I want to mention is, first of all, from the plays of this game, again, on a pure points per dollar base, I do like Myles Gaskin as a cheaper running back that you could play for Miami. I think that they'll get too involved. You know what I mean? Like they'll try to make it easy for him as possible. So I think Gaskin's going to get carries, going to get work out of the backfield or whatever it is. But I do think that this is obviously a really, really tough spot to throw Tua out there with Aaron Donald. You know what I mean? Like, welcome to the NFL, buddy. There's the best.
I know.
Maybe the best defensive player of all time, like across this line of scrimmage from you, especially from that position. But what he could do at that position is like kind of ridiculous. So it is a tough spot for him. And with Jalen Ramsey like hunting for interceptions, could be a rough day. Let's put it that way. And the Rams defense is certainly a pretty elite play. So I do like Gaskin, though, again, just on a pure projections basis. I don't know if I'll actually get there. I put him in one lineup. And then aside from that, I'm not playing any of the Miami passing game, not yet. On the Rams side, I wasn't going to play much from them. Although, if they didn't price up Reynolds yet, he is certainly one of the Rams better than anybody. He's become a pretty, major target over there. I mean, he's in every freaking snap pretty much. And he's only 3,100. So until they price him up, I think this guy's always in play, actually.
He does have upside, too. He can catch the long balls. They look for him around the goal line quite a bit. So I kind of like that a little bit. He's not a guy, usually we want to play because he didn't used to be on the field as much. But they are playing things a little bit different. And Goff is really bad. But, I mean, look, I'm sorry to say that. I know he's
you're not a Goff guy, huh? Interesting. Okay.
Well, no, I just watch him play too much. I mean, and I don't think he's bad. I shouldn't say he's bad. He's lucky he plays for the offense that he does. He missed about 5 of the most open throws I've ever seen on Monday night I saw the game on my way back. And it's pretty painful to watch because this team has enough firepower with them where they could be blowing everyone out. I know they won that game, but I'm just saying. I have mild interest in some of the Rams passing game a little bit, but not really enough. Mostly it'd be Woods and Kupp, and I guess I could throw Reynolds in a lineup, but I don't know. I don't feel great about anyone particularly in this game.
I agree.
From a receiver standpoint, but I do have a strong take on the game overall. I like Miami to win this game.
Wow, look at that.
And I think that they win this game, and I think that probably hits the over. But I think the Rams on a short week going cross country, and the fact that the Rams are obviously over the last years have been so much better at home than they have been on the road, and it's only this year they're undefeated at home and struggled on the road so far. So I just think that Miami. I think Miami's got talent. I think they're better on defense than people think. They're better. Their offense. They've got a few weapons. I just don't feel like I need to play any of these guys here, but I really do like the Miami to win this game.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you tell me about the LAC game, because I got a ridiculous take in this one.
All right. So then start it off a little bit. I don't know.
I mean, it's been a long time since we've walked down freaking Narrative Street, but freaking Melvin Gordon revenge. I mean, let's go. God's sakes. I mean, I'm in. I don't know what to tell you. He's going to project for crap. And if Lindsey plays, he's going to project worse.
Right.
He won't practice Wednesday. Lindsey.
That's good though. I mean, I don't know if he's going to be that owned even if you don't play him. So
I don't know. I'm in, man. I'm totally going to do it. I'm looking for lower owned running backs anyway. I'm going to try it now. Okay. So if you want the actual good play, Keenan Allen is probably one of my top 2 wide receivers overall on the slate. So I like him, but I really, really like Melvin Gordon.
I mean, I feel a little worried about this game from the Chargers standpoint because, from a Chargers, putting up a bunch of points. Denver's defense, other than last week where they just got demolished in the snow in the first half by KC, they are not a bad defense.
Not at all.
So I like the Keenan Allen too. And by the way, just history-wise, for whatever reason, when he goes into Denver, he just puts up monster games. I don't even understand it, but he always has, even when they've been really good. And So I like Keenan Allen. I'm having a hard time getting to anyone really on the other side from a receiver standpoint. And really, it's only Keenan Allen for me. I keep waiting for the, we had the one big Mike Williams game, but I just feel like maybe this isn't the right spot, but maybe it's worth considering. I mean, he is 4,400. As far as Gordon goes, you're right, probably like the more interesting play in this game. I think he's an interesting play. Forget the narrative street too. I just don't know. I don't know how many times I'm going to get to him because there are other running backs that I like, but I have him as a guy who I could see 15% of my lineups or something like that. I don't mind it, and especially if Lindsey's out, I'll be higher on him, and I don't think his ownership's going to skyrocket. He'll have more for sure, but he's not going to skyrocket.
He's getting pretty much 20 carries a game, except for Tampa Bay game, obviously.
Yep.
Give me 5 targets and 20 carries.
Yep.
With motivation, I'll try.
Yep. I agree. And every time that people say the Chargers have this tough matchup for this offense, Herbert goes out there and looks great and they move the ball, and that might force this game to play a little bit more at pace. Maybe Gordon gets a few more receptions. I can get behind it.
All right. New Orleans, Chicago. What, as Seinfeld would say, what is the deal with Michael Thomas? You know what I mean? Like, what, is he even hurt?
Do you want to know what's really crazy? Is here's a guy who now everyone's talking about how he's the most hated player apparently, like in
I know what happened.
But what happened? Because I never heard one peep about Michael Thomas being anything. And that was what was sort of interesting. It's like, here's a superstar receiver, and no one's ever talked to him. Like, he never complained about it. Like, it wasn't the thing. Maybe it's because he always got the ball. But anyway, I don't know what the hell is going on there, man. And I, especially in the middle of a season where Breeze is struck, like for them to do that during this year, I would just be very, like, I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know what to say.
So if I didn't lose, so here's my take on this game. If I didn't lose all my money, like with the terrible takes I already had, like I'm going to lose my money at 4:00 because I understand all of it. I understand projections, but you can someone else could play Kamara or anybody against Chicago. I'm not going to pay $200 for Kamara against Chicago. It's just not going to happen. It's going to probably be chilly. The New Orleans is going in there, and I don't know, man. Khalil Mack's really good, and not that they're the Bears of 85 or 86 or whatever it is, but at 8,200, he's going to be 1,000,000,000% owned, especially without Michael Thomas again. And I don't know. I won't say never get him right, but I mean, last week was a stoned up matchup, and he was fine. But it's not like you needed him, right? I mean, what do you get, 20 fantasy points or something like that? So if he's once again just hugely popular,
for who are you talking about?
Someone else will take him for me instead of me.
Who are you talking about? I'm sorry. What did you say?
Kamara.
Oh, Kamara. You're talking Kamara. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. Basically, I don't know what to do with this game because I have no updated things. And while we're on air, they said that Allen Robinson was going to concussion protocol. So
I mean, the game's going to be really ugly.
I don't know. I mean, I need to get the weather report for that. I'm sure it's going to be cold, but I'm going to take some shots on the passing game if there's no Allen Robinson. I don't know what to tell you. Like,
oh my God.
If you have no Allen Robinson and all those targets, meanwhile, you've already got a guy trending in the right direction who I don't even understand how on a showdown slate he was only 11% owned or whatever he was, but Mooney was my freaking captain and probably should have put up 35 fantasy points the other time. He literally dusted them twice.
Yep.
And then they missed him open in the end zone separately. He could have had 2 70-yarders and another touchdown. Like, he really could have had a monster game. Anthony Miller and he would both be extremely interesting to me if Allen Robinson's out. I understand the matchup stuff, but they're 3K and they're 4.3K. That's just a spot where I think it's worth taking a little gamble there. I don't have any interest in the New Orleans side of the ball here, and I sort of feel like I'm supposed to, but I don't really have much. I will throw Kamara into a lineup or two, but I don't think that I'm certainly not prioritizing him. Yeah, I mean, it's really depends on Robinson, and if it's Robinson out, then I like the passing game for the other side. Is there a path where maybe we're missing something and maybe we should play Michael Thomas? He is really cheap for him.
Wait, is he playing?
He's projected to play, but he's been projected to play before. And
he's not. I don't think he's playing.
I mean, look, he's supposedly being traded, but what if he was playing?
Yeah, if he was playing, I guess 7,300 is really cheap for him, like you were saying.
Yeah, let's just say, look, most likely he's not going to, but there's a chance that he does.
I don't know I'd love to know what's going on with him. Actually, I don't think I do. I mean, who knows? It could be anything. It could be like a hidden COVID test that they're not admitting. Who the hell knows what's going on?
Yeah, and it's hard to know who to trust outside of, from these guys. I think the simple answer is probably to play Jared Cook if he's out again.
Yeah.
And not that he's been exciting or overwhelmingly great or anything, but, should have decent targets. The Bears have given up some points to tight ends, even though their defense overall is really good. Yeah, it's hard to love a lot from this game. It's weird. This is, usually New Orleans games, you don't usually see these 42.40, whatever is it, 43.
All right. So I have the winner. Okay. I don't know if it's the winner in the Millie Maker. It's certainly not the winner in cash. It might be the winner in the late slate, or it's certainly going to be the winner if you play New Orleans Chicago Showdown. But you mentioned to me that Allen Robinson might be out. Can I get a little bit of Ted Ginn revenge?
I don't know how much he's going to play.
Wait, at 3K?
Yeah, but
I don't know. Does he ever play?
No. But Mooney's 3.5K, and Mooney is their guy. He's their rookie.
Yeah, all right.
They're looking for.
I was just checking. All right.
No, it's fair. It's fair. I mean, if we get word that somehow he's starting for some reason, that would be maybe a different story. But I think Javon Weems will probably have a better chance to be on the field more.
All right.
Like Patterson, if it was like a showdown, this would be the perfect Cordell Patterson spot.
This is why I need you. Usually I need you to because I usually end up with all chalk, good plays that are just never going to win anything. Now I'm on all these weird plays that are also going to not win anything, but for different reasons. So I need you to move me back towards the middle.
All right. I'm trying. I mean, I think that Mooney's in play either way, by the way, even if Robinson does play. I like to bet on these trends before they happen. And DeAndre Swift was a good example from a couple weeks back. But Antonio Gibson, our boy got there this week, finally had the monster game. And I think Mooney's the next, the receiver guys who you're going to see put up a 20-plus.
So I'm going to take the most ridiculous, obtuse victory lap you could ever imagine when I review this next game. Okay.
All right, do it.
So last week, what I said was that I thought that if Jeff Wilson was ruled out, that Tasty was going to be a great play for San Francisco because McKinnon is just the worst. And they don't like him, and they're not going to feed him. It turns out that Jeff Wilson played and broke the slate. Okay? They don't like McKinnon. They don't like him at all. He can't do anything. And this week, I believe Wilson might be out. If that is the case, if he's out and Mostert is still on the thing, they're really nasty. They actually priced Hasty up to 5K, huh? But I am definitely predicting that he gets the lion's share of the work instead of McKinnon. 5K is a little. I was hoping he'd be 4,300 or something like that. But that was my.
What about
a very obtuse victory lap for last week?
It was a great call. I didn't get it. No, you're right. No, you got the spot right, and Wilson being it was a good call. I mean, if that makes it right. But here's the thing, though. Tevin Coleman's supposed to be back this week.
I know.
So that kind of is going to put a little bit of a damper. And by the way, say what you will, no matter what, when Tevin Coleman plays, he's going to get a good portion of the snaps especially when you're missing your main running back.
Oh, if he practices sort of in full, somehow.
Yeah.
Well, look at that last game he played. Is that real? 14 attempts for 12 yards.
I know that was not a pretty one. But in general, just going back to Atlanta, Shanahan loves them as a person, they're boys. You know what I mean? He's he nearly won the guy the Super Bowl. So I don't know. I'm sort of staying away from the running in this one.
Oh my God, Samuel is out.
Except for I think we're gonna have to talk about Carlos Hyde though a little bit.
Yeah, huh?
What do we do? It's not a good matchup. I mean, to be honest, even though it's not a good matchup for this team, the way Seattle plays, don't we have to sort of play some of our lineups with Russ and either of the receivers? I don't care if it's a play against San Francisco. This team puts up 30 fucking points every day. Every game, and every game's a shootout, and every time it happens.
What do you like? See, I was going to go the opposite way. I guess it's kind of silly, but I was going to go with maybe something with Jimmy G, with Kittle, and Ayuk or somebody like that.
Yeah. I don't mind. I definitely like Kittle, by the way, for what that's worth. But I really like I think if you're going to play the quarterback thing, like just the upside of Wilson and what he does. I understand this price is high and everything, but we see what happens when, I've been saying all year it's frustrating to play the receivers for Seattle because it seems like they both have like around 20 most games. But then you look back and you go, well, Tyler Lockett just put up 53, which is unbelievable. And he's put up 37 earlier in a game this year. I still like Metcalf, especially if people start shifting their ownership over. It was Tyler Lockett week last week, but I don't see why I wouldn't shift right back to Metcalf. And I am into both these guys. That's all I can say.
When's the last time you saw someone have 15 reception on 20 targets? I mean, a wide receiver.
It's incredible. It's incredible to have 20. I just can't even believe it. But it did sort of happen the way that I thought it would. It was sort of funny though, because I was saying that they were killing him with him lining up in the slot and stuff. And honestly, they just zoned in on it, and Arizona never could correct it. So anyway, the other guy, the hopeless hero, whatever play, the crazy off the board, nobody owns him, he long shot millionaire, whatever, is David Moore. But I don't know. I can't find the guys that play on San Francisco that I like other than Kittle. I understand the argument for like Ayuk, but do I really want to use one of my receiver spots on him at 5.8? I don't really, but it's a good matchup. Like Seattle's defense has been so bad.
On this show last week, I said I like David Moore in the late slate thing. And
that would be maybe what you do here for the afternoon slate or something.
It's all you need is one of them. Just one.
Yeah, it's anyway. We'll I think it's more for a 2-game thing, but I am looking for other plays because, like you said, this is a different type of week. This is not a week where
it's sort of an ugly week, no?
Sort of ugly, yeah. I would say that's fair. But it's also, there's other spots that I don't know. I guess I don't have an entire feel for who's going to be like mega chalk, and that feels odd because I usually have a pretty good feel even by Wednesday. Maybe I'll have a better feel by Friday, but I'm having a hard time with it right now because there aren't that many guys that stand out.
It's gonna be Hunt, Kamara, and Henry.
Hunt, I think it'll be Hunt, Keenan Allen,
and Adams, yeah,
something like that. I think Adam Thielen's going to be pretty popular too.
Do you think so?
I do. I just, but I get a good game against this team already this year too, and people will sort of look at that. He put up 31.
I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to go on a limb that if you score 200 points this week, you have a chance to win. How about that?
Ooh, a chance. My 230 scores weren't even in sneeze.
Right, exactly.
So that would be quite a thing. Yeah, and that's sort of, I look at my projected what I want to get of each player right here, and I don't have decidedly guys at 40 or 50% like I've had in weeks recently. So I've got a lot of guys in the 20% range. You know what I mean? Do you want to go through some of the who we have the most of? I can do that real quick if you want me to.
No, but what I will do, I'll go through the games I like the most again.
Do the games, I'll do the players.
Yeah. So again, what I try to do is I try to talk myself off of them as I go through some of these others, and I'm probably going to have very little of these 4:00 games with respect to stacking for sure. I'll have maybe I'll have a Melvin Gordon with Keenan Allen, 1v1 or something like that. But I don't, that's playing. Stacking in Denver is starting to become annoying again. It's getting cold and weather is starting to get crappy, whatever it is. I'm gonna go back to the 2 I keyed before, the Cleveland, Vegas, and Tennessee, Cincinnati. Those are going to be my 2 kind of favorite games. But as we think about how kind of weak some of these others, maybe the Buffalo New England does have a chance. Maybe the one we just kind of went over really quickly. Maybe this Detroit Indiana game has a chance. I don't think, like you said, there's these big, huge total concentrated target type games that are just going to just dominate the points. So I think you can just kind of dip and dab from different spots and stuff. Maybe after all that, maybe you get a 6% old Lamar Jackson to just break the slate. You know what I mean?
Right.
Possible. And you say, who do you play him with? You play him with? You play him with, Devontae Adams. I don't know.
Right. I think that's going to end up having to be somewhat chalky, right? Because basically right now we've got, Devontae Adams, if he's going to be owned, you're going to see some Rodgers. We already saw this matchup. You're also going to see some Jones interest and Cook and Thielen especially. So I think that you're going to have some ownership in that game, because that's the one that stands out to me as being a potential. I do worry about Green Bay's defense being a little too good, but even when Minnesota's been getting killed, they have to throw the ball 500 times still, so still makes pieces appealing. I think that would be my game. But just in terms of ownerships, real quick, the guys who I sort of have the most, Kareem Hunt. I mean, look, this is not factoring in whatever. This is just what I've got right now.
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt, Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Julian Edelman, John Brown, Jonnu Smith, AJ Green, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen. Those guys I have in a pretty similar range after Adams, Hunt and Adams. I'm sorry, after Waller. Hunt, Adams, and Waller I have is way higher than everybody else. And I do think Derrick Henry is the better play of the two pay-up running backs for once this week. And I know they'll be in the minority, I think, on that. I think you're right about Kamara getting the bulk of the ownership there.
I tell you, the more I think about it, and you mentioned him as one of your top plays, just almost casually just now. I mean, the more I think about it, unless he's like really, really hurt. I mean, at 4,400, Julian Edelman is just you just kind of have to play him, don't you? I mean, he's always tries to get open. He runs short patterns. You know what I mean? Like he's got like a 10-point floor, right? I mean, like I don't know.
He hasn't been putting up any points though. Like
I know.
He hasn't, done anything whatsoever. But I hear you, man. I don't entirely understand. I don't know if he's as much. Everybody says he's dust. I don't know. They said that about a lot of guys. Said about Melvin Gordon earlier this year. Like there's a lot that just gets thrown around so much. But
who do you think is going to be the most popular? And we don't like this, but who do you think is going to be most people's cash game quarterback? Because I'm looking through this and I can't figure it out.
Okay, so let me just take a quick.
Are they going to play Mahomes?
I mean, this is a weird week.
Right? It's hard, right? I don't know.
I mean, that's interesting. It's an interesting point because
I don't know.
Like, nobody has a matchup that would be like the one you want.
Yep.
I mean, can you really play Russell Wilson this matchup as the chalk? Maybe. I don't have a great feel for that yet. I think we'll have a better feel come Friday or so, but it's interesting to me for sure. And I sort of like the idea of getting some of these weird stacks and doing this Patriots Buffalo thing a little bit, like you mentioned, just getting a little bit of it. Like, just 'cause look, you're spending so little. If your top guys hit, even if you get 15s from your low end guys in that game, you're gonna have a chance if your top guys hit, and you definitely are gonna be different. And there's also a chance that these guys, that Edelman goes out and has an old Edelman game where he has 7 for 1 or 8 for 110 and a touchdown, and he has 30 fantasy points, and kind of breaks the slate for a cheap guy.
I think that I'm like looking at defenses now for a second. I'd like your Packers call against Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Like the obvious plays are, you pay up. Or Chiefs, right? Rams. I think the Saints, especially if Allen Robinson's out, also.
Yeah.
I mean, Sean Conley's have a really tough time. I think they really are going to have a tough time generating anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe New England. Maybe that's not the worst idea in the world. We'll see.
It's well, if you want to know that, I think they're really good. I like all the first games because the turnover opportunity and the guys who take sacks, like the Detroit against Rivers, and then also on the flip side, Indianapolis against Detroit.
Yeah, Stafford, right?
Yeah, Green Bay. Other defense would be, who else do I have on there? If you can afford them, the Chiefs are the best option. But it's going to be really hard to get there. I think the Chiefs really are by far and away the best option. And even though their projected points is lower than some of these other teams, I don't even understand how. But
I'll tell you who's showing up as a good, well-projected defense, which I'm just not doing. Is I'm not playing the Titans defense. I'm not screwing with Cincinnati right now. I'm just not doing it.
I don't mind yeah, they're so cheap. I don't mind just
I guess.
But it's not that much more to get some of these other guys. The Browns, the Raiders against the Browns, I think are also a good defense.
Yep.
I like trying to pick on Baker. I know he threw 5 touchdowns, but he also he started the game off at the worst. Sheets, I'm getting awesome at this. I've done it twice now. I wrote how bad Baker is once with Baker, once with Tom Brady. And I was like, because Brady was having the worst quarter you've ever seen in the through pick six against, and then Brady goes out and throws 5 touchdowns.
No. I'm going to tell you who you.
Then
who
Baker
you
did the same thing.
I'm going to tell you who you hit. Is just the worst, most overrated quarterback in all of football is Carson Wentz.
Oh yeah,
he's a horror show.
It's a nightmare, man. I can't believe it. I was getting into people freak out. If they don't think he's a top 5 quarterback. I'm like, what are you guys watching? Like, well, he doesn't have any receivers. Look at Lamar Jackson's receivers. Talk to me about receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, not one of those guys, start for most teams. Anyway.
All right. So the other thing, by the way, are we sure? Oh, we already talked about Carlos Hyde. Obviously, watch the injury report for Chris Carson. I mean, he's was it week to week foot sprain?
Yeah.
I mean, if Carlos Hyde gets the full start, with Carson out, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't go crazy on it either. I don't know. Yeah. I busted with Carlos Hyde a couple of times also in my life.
For sure. I mean, it's not a good spot either. They're not going to be – I don't see Carlos Hyde putting up like 30 fantasy points against San Francisco. I just don't see that happening. And I think you're going to need scores like that or chances like that for your running backs this week. And Melvin Gordon would be the better play to me. I would go there instead if there's no Phillip Lindsay. All right, I think we covered a lot of it. Guys, the early look thing, we're going to load it up on our thing. We're going to load it up for BetQL. And send us any thoughts, any questions, all that stuff. And Sheets, anything else before we get out of here?
No, sounds good. Again, if what we'll do, I guess, is if anything like really important comes up between now and Friday, maybe we'll do another thing on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds good.
All right, sounds great.
All right, take it easy. Good luck for all you guys out there. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.
Talk to you later.